Welcome, welcome, self-talk experience audience. Guess what? This is our 100th episode.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven, and family-focused, and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
That is crazy.
I did not
Thank
think
you all.
that when we started, that I just can't imagine getting to 100. When you said it, you said we're going to do so many. We're going to do 100.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, we're not going to do 100 episodes. We did 100 episodes.
I know. I always see the end from the beginning. I think it's important to think that way because then it doesn't seem as daunting, right? You don't see, my 100s, but you see that, hey, we're going to do this every week, drop it every Thursday. And if you do that long enough, guess what? You end up at 100.
Because I told you I would do 5.
You did. You did. But I knew if I could get you to do 5, then you would do 5 more. And
Absolutely.
5 more. And guess what? It's added up to 100.
I enjoy it. I love it. It's been great. It's been a great journey. It has.
Yeah. And thank you guys for all the likes, the shares, the comments, the reviews. Keep them going. We really appreciate it.
It means everything to us.
Yeah, and
it
the
really
referrals to others who we believe that, that we could change communities, the world, by us changing ourselves because we impact another human. We impact someone else by becoming a better version of ourselves. And so we, congratulations to yourselves for plugging into the self-talk experience. And prayerfully, you are saying better things to yourself because our whole goal is to get you, as well as we do it ourselves, to say different things about ourselves so that we can attract different things for ourselves.
Yes. So, babe, I thought that for our 100th episode that we could maybe throw back to a couple of the episodes that really, really resonated with us.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yes. So for me, the very first one I want to throw back to was actually episode 2. I'm going way back.
Oh, I remember episode 2. You know why I remember episode 2?
Why?
Is because episode 2, Connecting the Dots, right?
Yes, Connecting the Dots.
That's the one where you said, oh, remember? I said, do you know what Connecting the Dots is? It's a game. You were like, yeah. You take a line, you move this line or something else with the lines. I was like, I had no idea what you're talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. And you said, oh, no, we played that together. And I said, we've been married for a long time, and we've never played that game together, ever. So I'm not sure who you played it with, but it wasn't me. So that's why I remember that one, because you called yourself out and playing games with some dude that wasn't me. Maybe it looked like me, but it wasn't me.
The thing is, that's not the clip that I was talking about, actually, for
you
that
guys
episode.
Go back and check that one out.
Yeah,
though.
don't do that. Babe.
Yes.
I was thinking about episode 2 because that was the episode, Connecting the Dots, where we kind of coined our phrase, it's happening for you, not to you.
Right.
And it's so funny because I was watching it back and you alluded to it and you said it in episode 2. But that whenever I hear feedback from people or I'm talking to people, they'll say, hey, Mrs. Self, I know it's happening for me. It kind of stuck with everybody. We even had T-shirts made with it. But it was all from that episode and us talking about how our lives connect in different ways.
Yeah. And
sometimes you feel like, why is this happening to me? This can't be really happening to me. This can't be real. But we have to learn to switch our self-talk into, you know what? This has to be happening for me. So now let me find the lesson or the blessing in what's happening to me right now. Yeah. But you said it on that episode. And when I was watching it back, I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of how the basis of our self-talk.
Yeah.
The whole show,
and you think about it, every single one of us in this world, like none of us are exempt from this. And that is, we've all dealt with a struggle.
Absolutely.
We've all dealt with a valley season where things didn't go according to plan. We're like, man, I thought when I launched this was going to happen, and it didn't happen the way that we saw it.
Right.
I thought when I started dating this person, I thought when I got this new career, I thought, right, and things don't always work out as we saw them in our mind or anticipated them to work out. But then We said, look, what if you shifted your self-talk, and instead of getting angry about that, and yes, there may be some emotion that comes from it when there's disappointment.
Sure.
But instead of just that, you thought to yourself, man, what are the lessons? Like, what is this preparing me for? What is this help me to avoid?
Yes.
And I'm so grateful and so thankful for this lesson in this season in my life, so that I never have to go through it again unless I don't learn. And so you're right. I've had so many people come up to me and say, look, I had this moment, and I thought I just quickly shifted my self-talk and said, you know what? This isn't happening to me. It's happening for me. And let me take a second. And sometimes, as in connecting the dots, is not revealed right away.
Well, we talked about that, but we also talked about sometimes when it's happening for you, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Sometimes things happen for you, but it's for someone else.
Yeah.
It's for you to get the lesson so you can help someone who needs it more later. Or it's happening for you so you have the wisdom to share with somebody else and stop them, say, hey, I went down that path. Let me tell you, that's not the way to go.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So sometimes we feel like it's about us, but it's through us.
Yeah, no, it's so true. In fact, let's go back to an older clip. We probably look a little differently, but let's go back and let's go to the episode 2, Connecting the Dots. A lot of times I find that I hear people say this, and I know you do too. They say, I can't believe this happened to me. Right? I can't believe this happened to me. Why me? You ever hear anybody say that?
Well, yeah. And especially when something happens that you generally feel is not your fault.
It's true.
So it's like, to no fault of my own, why is this happening? Right?
That's so true. Probably even more so then.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But here's the twist, right? Here's what we're talking about in terms of self-talk. If we can say to ourselves, man, I wonder why this happened for me.
It all goes back to, why did my dad buy me this sweatsuit? That's not the name brand that I wanted.
Yeah.
Why did my mom make me join the junior usher board? Why did I get in that fight? Why did I have to quit my job? Why do we have to struggle all these years and figure everything out? It was for that moment, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of connecting the dots.
Yeah.
All the dots connected to make sense. And the crazy thing is, when we're talking about this, usually when you do the connect the dots, the game or the puzzle, you finish and you have a picture.
Yeah.
But in our lives, we are on a journey, and our picture is still always moving, right? It's always changing. And you're kind of like, oh, I think it's going to be a heart.
Right.
No, now it's kind of looking like a star.
That's so good.
Now it's not looking too good. Well,
That's so true.
so you never really know
Yeah.
what is your picture
Yeah,
really
that's
supposed
so
to look
true.
like, because it's ever changing.
Right.
And the picture that you want may not be the picture you're going to get, because you deserve better.
Ooh. Say that again.
The picture that you want, that you think is what you want, is not really what's best for you, because there's better for you. And you have to be open, though.
Yeah. So you're thinking, oh man, this is good. But then there's greater.
There's greater.
That's good. Man, when you watch the old stuff, it really helps you to appreciate that every single episode, I mean, me watching it, and we were the ones who delivered it.
Sure.
But I'm thinking, man, this is such a great opportunity for all of us to attract different things in our lives, because all of us have had some dots that we were like, man, maybe I left my keys at home because I was avoiding an accident. Maybe, your son got injured in that football game, was supposed to play in the next game because things would have been worse.
Right.
So we have to continue to remind ourselves that, man, this dot is connecting to something else. And that episode reminds me of my entire life, how everything happened as God was preparing me for my next season. And even though I couldn't see it in that moment, I knew that it was happening for me, or at least that's how I just shift my self-talk.
Right. But we also were talking about on the episode how we have in our mind what our picture is going to be. So we have our goals and a vision for our life. So that's what our picture looks like.
Right.
So we're connecting our dots to go exactly down that road of what our picture is supposed to be. And sometimes you think your picture is something and it's not.
Yeah.
And you look down and you're like, whoa, this isn't the picture I thought it was going to be.
Right.
It's even better.
Right.
It's better than what you thought it was going to be. So
Right.
sometimes we have to be open
Yeah.
to shift a little bit
Yeah.
to see maybe should I try this?
Right.
Should I maybe move this around a little bit? Because a lot of times we get so focused on a goal or where we want to be, we're not open to change.
Yeah, we're not flexible throughout the journey.
At all.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, sometimes who wants to go through a valley season? No one's saying, I can't wait 3 months from now when I'm in that valley season. It's going to be hard. I'm going to be emotional. I'm going to be crying. No one's looking forward to that season. And this is why I believe God doesn't show you the entire journey. He may give you the end vision, but not the entire journey. Why? Because who in the world would say, well, I can't wait for step 7 along this journey because that's when I'm going to be crying every night and hard for me to sleep at night. Right. So no one wants to go through that. And that's why sometimes, like in the game Connecting the Dots, you just look at number 2 and then number 3 and number 4. And you can't figure out what it is at that moment. It's because you would try to reconfigure it yourself. Like, it'll look better if I did it this way. But because that journey is all critical in creating the vision, and like you said, sometimes we get in and mess it up and it's worse than what it could be. It's actually going to be even better than we thought it would be because we had to go through the journey that God prepared for us. Right.
And sometimes if you can see something, that messes you up too. Because in the Connect the Dots, remember, if you're doing something, dot number 1 could be here. And dot number 2 could be all the way over there.
Right.
Sometimes the dots are close together.
Right.
And sometimes they're not, right? So you can see it, be like, oh no, that valley season is gonna be way too long. I'm not going that way. I'm gonna get a new picture. Just tear that one out, right? So sometimes you just have to trust the process and just go for it.
Yeah. I'm so thankful for the Connecting the Dots episode because I think it really helps others to stay steadfast and not quit along the tough times in the journey, knowing that this season 2 is critically important. Not just the mountaintop season, but the valley seasons teaching me character, it's teaching me dedication and tenacity and how to keep moving when I don't want to move and how to expand my comfort zone when I don't feel like it. So all those things are taught sometimes during the toughest seasons of our lives. So you guys, if you haven't had a chance to go back and watch the full episode of episode 2, Connecting the Dots, make sure you do that.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. What was another great episode?
Episode 8, I really enjoyed. Episode 8 is when we actually had a guest, one of our first guests maybe, Reverend Amari Hughes. Yep. And I really think that episode resonates with me so much because he was talking about different isn't wrong. And it totally changed my perspective of basically my whole life. Like I lived my whole life feeling like if you're talking to somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. So you talk it through, you figure it out, but at the end of the conversation or the discussion, somebody's a winner, somebody's a loser. Somebody's right and somebody's wrong. And the way he talked about that in this clip is amazing to me, how he just changed my whole train of thinking. Yeah, because you can create win-win scenarios and it stops you from judging just because that person is doing it differently, whether they're raising their kids differently, whether they're handling a situation differently, doesn't mean that they're wrong and you're right because you would have handled it a different way. Right. And sometimes it doesn't matter how you get to the end. We find ourselves saying, well, I don't know why they did it that way. Right. I would have done it this way. But did you get to the goal? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Did you reach your goal? Because you had a different process, that wasn't the wrong process. Right. It was wrong for me. Yeah. But it wasn't wrong for you. Yeah. And sometimes I would lose sight of that and say, well, I don't know why they're doing it that way. It's not going to work out. But it ends up working out. It just wasn't the way I would do it. Maybe it took them longer. Right. Maybe they had more stress and I would have avoided it. Yeah. But it wasn't wrong. Right. Yeah, right? I think it's key to look at, opportunities like that to create win-win scenarios in your relationship. So let's go check out that clip.
But I'll tell you another thing that I've recently been trying to work on, and I've been doing this more in my sessions with couples, is getting people to a place where they recognize that different is not necessarily wrong. That's like really big because when, particularly early on in marriage and early on in relationship, whether it's with your spouse or significant other, whoever it is, you see differences in how they do things, some of which you like and some of which you don't. The things that you like, you're like, oh, that's great. But the things that you don't like, you tend to kind of label them as wrong. That's not always the case. And so how can you then begin to talk to your significant other, to your spouse, about what they're doing that rubs you, what they're doing that you don't like, without labeling it in a judgmental way as being wrong? That's a huge challenge. Wow. And so it's trying to help people to say, listen, I'm not going to call the fact that you may talk more than me or less than me or at a different volume than I talk sometimes. I'm not going to call that wrong, but I am going to talk to you about how that makes me feel.
Yeah.
And shifting it from a conversation about right and wrong, finger pointing, to a conversation about, I don't want you to do something that causes me to feel a certain way. I don't want to do something that causes you to feel a certain way.
Right.
So let's talk about how we can both interact in a way that makes each person feel comfortable, feel affirmed, and feel loved.
Yeah, so I just, that really helps me. It really changed the way I think totally. So I was really, really, really blessed by that episode.
Yeah, and and I think how that episode really helped me out as well was that, someone's perception is a reflection of their own reality. And so, it's hard to say, I would have done it this way. Well, you were never left alone. You know what I mean? As a child, to fend for yourself. Some children were. Right. They were like, look, not only am I leaving you alone, but I need you to take care of your younger siblings too. So for someone who's never had that experience to say, well, I would do it differently, they're coming from a different reality.
Sure. Or I wouldn't have raised my kids that way. Well, that was how they were raised.
Right.
So that's all they know to do.
Right.
Right. So you can't judge.
Yeah. And if your back's up against the wall, people do a lot of things that, sometimes they ordinarily wouldn't do, but out of desperation, they did it. People are like, I would have never done that. Well, listen, you're thankfully, gratefully, right? Your back was never against the wall.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah. And perfectly, you'll never have to experience that. But that means we shouldn't judge someone who is taking a path based on what they feel is best for them. I don't think people will ever say, watch me do the worst thing possible. I think for the most part, people want to do the best thing. There are some people who have some character flaws or some flaws that cause them to make some mistakes. But again, this is why we have to have grace. And we talk about that all the time. And that's why I think that episode with Amari Hughes was such an impactful episode, because it calls all of us to look within. You know what I mean? He does that often, by the way. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that episode, if you want to build healthy relationships, if you want to build a healthier relationship with the people that are close to you, I would say go check out that episode.
Episode 8.
Yeah, episode 8. It will certainly help you to communicate better with the people who you love most.
What about you? Did you have a standout episode?
I don't know if I had all the episodes are good because, it's, D-Self, delivering that message. No, I think, well,
Totally agree.
No, my favorite episodes are like listening to other people, listening to you, listening to our guests. And I'm like, because it causes me to reflect and think, that's so good, or be inspired.
Absolutely.
Like the episode with Terica.
I think that was
it
10?
10? It was early on. I think it was 10. Terica Lynn Smith, you gotta go check it out. So
amazing.
So when I say an inspiration, a true inspiration, right? Because and again, all our guests were amazing. I thought about this. I'm like, again, we just talked about this. How sometimes, the decisions we make are a reflection of our own reality. Well, she talked about living under a bridge. She talked about one of her kids wearing the same diaper for 3 days. Like we've never experienced. I didn't experience that myself, and our kids have never experienced that. Never lived under a bridge. In fact, I've always had a home. I've never been homeless. And she talked about that, and she talked about how when she attended a real estate class, how she was going to get her questions answered. She was going to learn because she had sold food stamps to attend that. Now, some people just like, I just worked hard and I could afford this class.
Yeah.
Somebody else, their parents could have gifted them the class. Somebody else, you know what I mean? They were like, this is not a big deal. This is a small piece of what I normally earn for me to invest. When you, this is all, in fact, you don't even have it to invest.
Yeah.
Right? You sold some food stamps, and instead of using those to eat, you took the class. That was another level of inspiration for me.
She invested in herself big time.
Yeah. And now a multi-million-dollar real estate empire that she owns. I mean, street names after her kids.
Yes.
Which is
let's look
phenomenal.
at the clip.
Yes, let's go to the clip.
But you know what? This is what I said. I had to sell my food stamps to sit in this seat. So they're going to answer every question I have. I don't care who mad at me. I used to laugh at the nerds, the geeks, and all these other students back in high school. But then I was one because I was so determined, right? So I'm sitting in class, boom, we have to take the test. All right, cool. I failed that exam 7 times.
Wow.
You have to drive an hour to go take it. So imagine coming back, driving an hour, feeling like a failure, right? So it's really hard for somebody to break me because you can't break me physically. You can't break me mentally. You can't break me verbally, right? You literally have to pick up something and knock your girl out to lay me out. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if it's in my face, I'm going to move it. You see what I'm saying? If it's in my way, I'm going to move it. Anything in my direction, it has to be moved because it's yes or yes. You know, and so for me, that's how I live my life, and that's how I've accumulated the amount of success that I have. It's because I don't create options. I don't turn that light switch on and off. It has to stay on because I know what's behind me. I know how dark it is. I know where I come from. You know, I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like not to have anything. I know what it's like to go to the bank and negotiate NSF fees. I know what it's like not to be able to pay your light bill and have to pick up the phone and call people and for them to judge you. I know what that feel like. So it's yes or yes. But it's gonna be better next time. Like that's what I'm telling myself, right? I have to tell myself that because if I allow myself to think anything else, then that possibility is now a chance to come and take form in my life. And I just couldn't allow it. And I didn't know at that moment, like we just have to be honest, right? When we're going through a struggle, at that moment, we don't know that we're like pulling ourselves through that struggle. We just trying to get out the struggle.
Wow. You see what I mean? Like, I love what she said. Look, there was only one option for me, win or win. Like losing was not an option. I was going to win or I was going to win. And when you have that mindset, when you have that self-talk, like, look, even if you don't know what winning looks like, but it's going to be a win.
Oh, yeah. When she was talking, our producer, Janelle Jefferson, and I, we just wanted to run around. Like, girl, yes. I mean, because you just felt it. You felt her passion and you felt the energy. It was all over the room.
It's just raw.
It was all over.
It was raw. You could tell it's not scripted. It's just like, it's raw. And then we have so many guests that just bought that to the self-talk podcast.
I mean, we could talk about every episode, really.
Yeah, when you think about all the people just bought.
Who poured into our audience.
Yeah,
really.
And here's why we're blessed. We're blessed to have relationships with people who share the version of themselves on the podcast as the same person you would see. That same version exists when they're not on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Like, that's just who they are. So they're not like, let me get on this podcast and kind of show a representative.
Right.
That's not normally me. And I think that, you know, I know that we've been blessed by having folks like Terica be able to say, hey, look, you know, don't give up. Yeah. You got to win in you. And even if you think you're losing, it's a win. It's a win. It's a win. Yes. And that's some self-talk for you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So speaking of, you just alluded to our producer. So we didn't get to this 100 episodes by ourselves.
We did not.
Yeah, we got a big team of 4. We got a big team that puts this together. For 100 episodes straight, we've had a team of 4. Right. And 2 of the teammates you see all the time, Tracy Self and myself. And then we have Mr. Donald Gadsden, who does all of our voiceovers. So the voice you hear that introduces the podcast and also the outro.
Drop your picture right here, Donald, so that people can see you.
That's Donald right there.
That's Donald.
And so he does all our editing for us, all the captions you see, our social media clips for us. So really just very thankful and grateful that he's been with us.
Yeah, he's the voice.
Yeah, the
Talk
voice.
good to yourself.
But the one who's like, and you've heard us talk to her, even though she's been behind the camera, you've heard us talk to her during the podcast because she's always doing something behind the camera and like, hey, move your hand right there. And I'm like, what? I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we had an incident too. I mean, I wonder if we have that clip. Donald, if you could find that clip, you can put it right here. That would be great.
Let's get Janelle Jefferson over here. This is our executive producer of the Self-Talk podcast, finally in front of the screen.
Hello,
finally
everyone.
in front.
She makes us look good.
Yes.
She makes us look good.
Yes. So
yeah, we love you.
We made it to 100.
We made it to 100. We did it.
2 years.
2 years. You and Darnell, y'all good still? Y'all good?
Good.
It was just she was trying to tell me stuff like, I don't know if 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, like use the right cues.
So we're literally recorded and then You were like, Janelle, I don't know what you want.
I wasn't like that.
Yes, it was.
And
that.
then you were like, no, don't talk to her like that because she's working for free.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any of this stuff. It's just like we appreciate you. Yeah, guys. So we're thankful. We have a great team of folks who've helped us to put this together. But
and we're just getting started, babe.
we're just getting started. So we're looking forward to.
I have a lot in me. I need to get out.
This one, just so that you know, before we close out in this celebratory moment, this celebratory episode of 100.
100.
This one told us, and during the first episode, that she told Janelle and I that now I can't. I'm gonna spit up. I can't do it.
Okay, I need to come back and talk about that.
Yeah, I do want you to talk about
Don't
that.
come back. Don't come back.
She's
I was
like,
so nervous.
yeah, she was like, I'm not doing this.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, but guess who did it?
Talk.
Yeah, she was like, oh, you
talk to me when I was doing your hair.
So then you said, it's not live, right? I said, oh yeah, that's right.
right.
So if we don't like it, we don't have to show it.
Right.
Okay,
But
that
we-
made me feel a little bit better.
But we've always showed it. We were just like, let's go.
I know.
Like the lighting was off, audio was off. We had all this feedback on our YouTube. It was like, you could make this adjustment, it'd be better. Right. And it's like, hey, a little dim in there. We know. But our podcast coach, shout out to David Shans, is like, look, do it ugly. That's another brand, by the way, that we want on our episode. Do it ugly. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just do it.
So thank you for giving us grace to 100.
Yep.
Yes.
And we're still not perfect, guys. But guess what? We're proving. It's just like with our business, right? Our business outside of podcasting. So our primary business is Legal Shield. And when we first started that 25 years ago, no one would have said, now that's the couple that's going to make a whole lot of income and have success,
right,
if they were basing it on our past. Because 4 years leading up to that was just preparation, making the mistakes, learning, growing, learning how to be consistent, learning how not to procrastinate.
Your dots were not connecting.
They were. You just didn't know it was.
I didn't feel
But I'm just saying, learning relationship building skills, learning leadership, these are all skill
personal
sets.
development.
Yeah, that was
everything.
right. And so these are all habits, because habits lead to success, but also the wrong habits lead to failure. Habits are habits. And so you don't just delete habits out of your life. You replace them. You can't say, well, no longer will I be doing this. Typically, that will never happen. You just replace them. So we were replacing things for 4 years, right? Don't do this, do this. Wake up earlier, do this. Read, meditate. So all these things we're creating habits out of. Well, now it's just a way of life, and that's led us to different results. And I know the same thing will be happening with this podcast is that, listen, we don't have the audience that I know we will have. And I'm okay with that. I'm not offended by that. The 4 agreements, don't take it personally. I don't take it personally. We have family members that don't watch it.
Oh, gosh.
What? I'm just saying. No, I'm not wrapping up. We're not editing this either. I'm just saying that, look.
And that's okay. That's okay.
That's my point. I'm not saying it's venting.
They're not going to hear it anyway because they don't watch it. It's okay.
Right. This is my point. Guys, listen. I have family that didn't join Legal Shield. I have families that didn't come off a ride. Right.
And so still success.
Right. So yeah. I just want to be an inspiration to those that start things ugly. Like, don't wait for perfection. Don't wait till it gets all right. Yeah. Listen, part of learning is activity. One yes is classroom, where you take the courses but the next part is actually doing it. Talk to the most successful people. Like, look, let me tell you some of my biggest mistakes. But those mistakes came from doing it.
That's true.
Right. And so when they did, they were like, oh, I found a better way based on the mistake I made from the action I took.
Right.
And so that's what I pray that people get out of this is that, man, I watched their 100 episodes and I've seen the mistakes. I didn't comment on it. If you do comment, that's fine too. You can tell us. But most of the time we know anyway. We're like, we know. But we're nice about it. I don't say, I know. I just say, thank you so much for the feedback. We greatly appreciate it. But my point is that it's okay. It's okay. That's all I'm saying. It's okay, because guess what? We're still here. And guess what? Whatever you're doing, the goals you set, the vision you have for your life and your future, the worst thing is to have that seed planted in you and you give up on it. Because if it's planted, then it must harvest as long as you cultivate it. And cultivation takes action.
That's right.
So keep acting, guys. Keep going forward. And I can't wait to celebrate you at whatever milestone you have. Our milestone today is 100 with these big balloons that Tracy Self bought.
You love my balloons.
Yes, we do. We love your balloons. All right, guys. Thank you for celebrating with us. Thank you for
so
being
much.
here with us.
100,
Yeah, 100. We did it.
so
Hey, Rose,
excited.
thank you. Donald Gasson, thank you, guys. And the best is yet to come. Another episode of the Self-Talk Experience.
100.
Next
We
will
love
be-
you guys.
Yeah, next will be 101. Remember the things you say to yourself about yourself will eventually determine what you attract for yourself.
And if you have criticism, make sure it's constructive.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.